Florida Cannabis Action Network, or FLCAN, has been fighting for cannabis rights in Florida for over 25 years. We're the grassroots voice pushing back against outdated laws and demanding science-based, sensible cannabis policy. From patients to veterans, business owners to everyday Floridians, we unite passionate advocates who won't settle for less than freedom. Together, as friends, we work with a purpose. Join us. Be a part of a 27-year movement to help legalize the plant.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, it says we're live.
Well, and I think I have failed on this.
Okay.
Full. All right, tried.
We tried. What are you gonna do? Like, we did our best, and that's all people can ask of us. We wanted to showcase a really new feature that Steve, our producer, made for us, which was like a little intro countdown, but like life got in the way, and so we tried and it didn't work, but I know next week it will. And look at Jody's beautiful background and beautiful face. I couldn't be happier.
New space, new place, new face. Wait,
New
same
hair?
face. A little new hair.
How about that?
I did get a freshen upper this weekend. You know.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, it's
How
the
are
season,
things?
right?
You're not in Tallahassee.
And that's just the greatest of news.
I feel you. I feel you.
We're doing a little bit of team building here in Brevard County this weekend. Got some good stuff happening here at the house. So you know, when I'm not there, I do really like to have a life, and so I'm trying to have one in the 5 minutes while we're home.
You deserve it.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, I had that thought. So I almost quit again today, you know, quit it all.
Yeah, light it on fire, burn it to the ground, pee on the ashes. Yeah, like we've all been there. Yeah.
Damn the torpedoes, burn it to the ground. Yeah. So it was just a fleeting moment, but I thought, it was right after I asked a big donor for money.
Oh, did they say yes?
Not yet.
Well,
Not yet.
if they know what's good for them, you know.
Hey, we can always hope. We can always hope. But you know, that is part of what makes the world go round. I spent much of today thinking about, you know, kind of big holes and bringing things together.
No, I'm totally on board and following.
So you know, come together is the theme of our
yep.
Right, of cannabis at the Capitol.
Right.
And so what are we bringing together? And of course there's a lot of work that happens to make sure that we're tracking lawmakers and that you're, you know, getting the best information if you're following Florida Cannabis Action Network. And I started looking at all of the big holes in the gaps in the Florida Cannabis Action Network.
Oh no.
Right. I'm sorry, the big. I got it.
There's got to be an alliteration because I feel like I am too much of a bossy bitch to not have exactly what I want, which is alliteration all the time. What did you put in today's teaser?
What would I what?
In our teaser for today's headline.
Oh,
our topic.
Today's teaser. It was good. Pistols, petitions, and
peeps.
Peeps. Peeps. So the peeps. That's my point. The peeps are not being represented in all of these discussions.
There's holes in the information or in delivery.
And well, in the people. So I'm looking at the Florida legislature, right? Because that's who we're working with.
Oh, yeah.
And I have come to find out that there are 6 seats that have basically turned over. And there's 3 seats in the House and 2 in the Senate that are vacant. So that's why I said there is over 1 million people in Florida that when we go back to Tallahassee for legislative session to do things like vote on property tax and vote on marijuana bills and decide whether or not we're going to give veterans. There are over 1 million people in the state of Florida who simply will not be represented.
They are not. nobody filling the seats, nobody on the horizon, nobody's representing all of
And
these
no
people. Do they
special
know
election.
that?
And no special, well, I can't imagine, and I don't know what you do about it. Because it's up to the governor to decide when the special election is going to be held.
And he didn't
And-
ask to host a special election to fill the seats that are vacant
And we're talking 2 Senate seats.
and
Uh,
3 House.
Senator Collins is now, I mean, this really is news to me.
Yeah.
And I think this is important. If you were in Senator Collins' district, you have no representation because he's now the vice president. So
Sorry.
that's like a huge chunk of Tampa,
Yeah.
right? If you are in Senator Angolia's seat,
Uh-huh.
House seat, what I think it was 11 or Senate seat 11, no representation. It says more than 500,000 people. So 1 million people between them.
Where did Angolia go?
He's our CFO, Blaze Angolia.
Oh, Blaze. Yes.
Blaze.
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 Blade,
Yeah.
Blazer, Blaze.
Blaze.
Blazer.
Blaze.
Who
Angolia.
is,
Yeah. So
who are the 3 House members?
John Temple, he was appointed to be the Lake/Seminole College president. So resigned.
Wow.
Mike Caruso down in House District 87, so part of Palm Beach.
That's a big area.
Kind of important right about now, considering it's the Southern White House. He was appointed to be the Palm Beach County administrator, so a couple $100,000 a year versus 34.
What are you gonna do?
All day long, I'm gonna follow the money. And then of course Joe Casello passed away.
Rest in
And
peace.
so that's House District 90. So five seats, 1 million people don't have representation in the House, and 1 million people don't have representation in the Senate.
Are they
Different
at all
million people.
matching? Are there
No.
anybody that's in the House and the Senate completely vacant? No. Okay.
Palm Beach has senators. Lori
Yeah.
Berman is one of them. Tina Polsky's
Mhm.
down in that area. But they have no representation in the House.
House.
And then again, the Senate is up here in the Hernandez, North Tampa area. So
That's crazy to think about it, that no one's really reporting on it. They're not talking about it. And I don't think that the population, another P, really understands what that means for them and their platforms, their beliefs, their give a dams, and how they're going to be expressed out in Tallahassee if nobody's out there. They are constituents to no one. They have nobody to help whatever they are passionate about. So what happens if something goes down? Like I'm going to use this as an example because it's something that was semi-recent, but like the Champlain Towers, for instance, after that horrible accident happened and, it was horrific down in South Florida, a lot of legislators took up that fight and they made big positive changes as to
Absolutely.
inspections of buildings, frequency, and requirements that ended up making big change and positive impact for people. What would happen if something happened in any one of these areas and nobody's out there to be vocal and give a damn?
Cynthia, this is the reason we fought the Revolutionary War. This is the Boston Tea Party.
I feel left out.
Boston Tea Party.
No taxation without
representation. That's exactly right. So there are 2 million people in the state of Florida who are disenfranchised right now from the political process because they have 0 representation. I just thought that was newsworthy.
It is
So where's the
newsworthy.
peeps? Where's the peeps? Missing peeps.
Gaps in the P. So as much as I love alliteration, we were gonna go with big holes, and so we kind of had to wordsmith it down a little bit, make it a little more palatable. But of course, yeah, that is definitely important. Now, what is because today my interesting fact is not going to warrant a teaser. I'm not going to give you one, but there will be an interesting fact because it's close to Halloween. I wanted it to be in line with that, which I think I nailed. So we'll talk about that later.
Excellent.
But so in
The
Florida,
teaser is no teaser.
no teaser at all. It's gonna get straight to business. That's how no foreplay today. what other Florida? So we have talked about the peeps. Now we got to talk
Yep.
about the petitions. Florida petitions and Smart and Safe Florida. What a story. So as if it couldn't get any more dramatic. It's like Days of Our Lives mixed with like, oh gosh, half baked a little bit. And then you
Yeah,
throw
there you
in
go.
like, oh man, something that would represent Daddy DeSantis really well. I don't know. I'll have to think of like a
Oh,
satirical like
you've worked
movie
that
about
one.
Republicans. But
You
anyways,
worked that one through.
Smart and Safe Florida is suing the state because election officials are trying to invalidate 200,000 signatures that were gathered by their
Wow.
petition. There's the P gathers. Potentially jeopardizing its bid to qualify for the 2026 ballot, where we would
Absolutely
vote
jeopardized.
again on adult use. So the lawsuit that was filed by Smart and Safe Florida accuses the Department of State and Secretary of State Corey Bird of unlawfully discarding petitions that lack full text of the proposed amendment. Now, to put this in very layman's terms, this was something that was not already in place. This was not a practice that was mandatory at the time of them initiating their Smart and Safe campaign for the second go around or the first go around. So what the state is saying is that if the people signing these petitions do not have the full text of the proposed amendment, they are not getting all the information to sign it and be well informed. So they want to require that the full text of the petition is provided to every signature that is being gathered, or at least supplied, even if they don't read it. There's no proof that they read it,
Right.
but like if you make your gatherers, and this is something where I ran into a signature gatherer up in Ormond, and I asked him, do you have the full text with you? And he was like, no. And I was like, when you get back to your headquarters, ask for it. So that way, all of these signatures you get will not be invalid in the event something horrible happens. This was like months and months ago. And I hope that kid followed word. But it is kind of a little janky to all of a sudden say, we're going to invalidate 200,000 signatures over a rule that was implemented during their campaign. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, totally hinky. And this really goes back to Governor DeSantis. He was very clear. He believes he has a moral imperative to fight this. And
Yeah.
it's interesting what you can justify in the name of morality.
Mm-hmm.
If I believe that I am saving your soul, well, it doesn't matter if I lie to your face, and it doesn't matter if I cheat the taxpayer. This is not the first thing that they have done for this initiative. This is actually, oh, where the heck are we at? Uh, they have now invalidated 200,000 signatures.
Yep.
Smart and Safe has reached what is considered the Supreme Court threshold.
Yep. And then
And
some.
yet it has not been transmitted by the Secretary of State to the Supreme Court. And now they have and let's not forget
Super majority requirement.
Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and our arbitrator on this is who? The Attorney General of the state of Florida, who was the person who, caused Hope Florida to happen to begin with. I see that I apologize for being a little distracted.
It's
I
okay.
am not in my normal spot, and I see that we have some comments coming in.
Okay, let's
And
listen to
so
some
I
comments
want
because I
to,
want to hear what people think about this. Because I go back to this press conference and a quote from Ron DeSantis that said, the Smart and Safe ballot initiative is going to have and face a lot of challenges. They are going to have a hard time getting this across the finish line. It was almost like he was alluding to things to come. Now, he was instrumental in last year's activities to voice misinformation to the public, creating those holes in the information, like you were saying, when people started to say, well, wait, I want home grow. And we're like, whoa, slow down. You can only ask for one thing. It's a single topic, one single request of the Supreme Court to get it on the ballot to vote in a super majority. So 60%, not just majority, super majority, which is crazy. If you don't get that, it won't pass. We didn't last year. but they got through Supreme Court review last year. They got the signatures last year, and they threw hurdles towards the end, which I think really affected the vote. This
100%.
time, it
And
looks.
spent $10 million in taxpayer money to do it.
Oh yeah, well that wasn't taxpayer money. That was like the settlement that was awarded from the Medicare. They funneled that.
Taxpayers' money, right?
Right.
I mean,
Oh yeah, it would have
taxpayers
been
pay
ours.
for
Yeah.
Medicare.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And they should have given it back to the Medicaid fund,
Yeah,
which
it
is
should have
now
gone to anything else.
anything else.
What our
But
comment
it
saying.
wasn't the only taxpayer money he spent. He also spent taxpayer money to use Florida highways and highway safety dollars to do some of that. It's not we're gonna have too many high people on the road or whatever. Yeah, this is an amazing what did you call it? A soap opera of cannabis. It's
It's like a
can't make it
telenovela.
up. Can't telenovela. Can't make it up.
Nancy
Can't
Drew
make
in the
it up.
mysteriously light dime bag. Yes.
And everything that's happening here is happening nationally.
Mhm.
I know that you like to keep it a little light, but I am Debbie Downer at every party. They are really ramping up the war on drugs. The
Yeah.
immigration is done on the backs of the war on drugs. We've got to stop these people from coming into our country because they're bringing in drugs. Just like we have to pat me down and send me through a metal detector for me to go in to visit a prison because obviously it's people like me that
Yeah.
are bringing the
And
drugs
there's
into the
only,
prison.
you obviously look suspect because
Every time.
it makes sense. I've heard of people throwing balls, tennis balls over the side of the prison walls, and that's drugs, but I never really heard of people trying to smuggle them in through visitation of family members.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't know it by the way that they treat us. But
Well, plus,
this
every time I've been to visit, there's been like a glass separation, and you can't even touch the person. You pick up the phone
anyhow,
that like
anyhow.
is covered in Rona, and like at the time, it wasn't Rona yet, but that's what I remember. I don't know how you'd get the drugs through the phone.
That's it.
Not
Well,
savvy.
I'll tell you what, we're ramping up the war on drugs. We are blowing up boats on the coast of Venezuela because they may or may not, and we have to remember cannabis is still not legal.
No. And even if
So
it's legal where you live, it is not legal if you leave where you live.
it is not legal.
Mm-mm.
And you're one federal investigation away from it not being legal.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, that was my Debbie Downer
Do we have
moment.
any comments from listeners first? Because you said there were a few.
Yeah. We had one comment from Marcia who said, this stuff's just hard to hear.
I know.
Let me see
Well,
where we find it.
the lack of representation out in Tallahassee for these key areas, that's hard to hear. People don't maybe know. I mean, some of them will know that their House representative passed away, but then nobody instigates the next part of the process, which would be fill the seats. Special election, governor mandated special election, nobody can do anything. And
Right.
that's a group of people in an area that should be incredibly vocal. Call the president.
Right.
That's his area.
Right. So Steve says we can go ahead and move on. This whole smart and safe thing, I just think it's hilarious. We reported last week that Representative Rizzo said that Republicans love medical marijuana.
I love that.
And I thought that's hilarious considering how much they hate
They
recreational
also, you have to balance the smart comments like Republicans love medical marijuana with the kind of not so smart ones. Where on the plant is the endocannabinoid system?
That was
Is it
tough.
here or here? And you're like, oh, geez, we have some work to do, don't we?
We have some work to do. Strange things that
Just tell them it was at
folks
the
that are
top.
following us.
It's just at the top part.
Oh no.
So the next, so besides, smart and safe Florida petition gatherers, there is something interesting that a smaller story that is a bigger importance to myself because I remember this kind of playing out a little bit a couple of years ago with the old director of the OMMU granting permission for an MMTC to do this activity. And it's kind of weird that's like full circle, but THC hemp-derived beverages have arrived at over 900 Circle K stores across the state of Florida. So major expansion in the hemp-derived product space. THC infused drinks, which have not been taken over officially by the alcohol industry, have not been regulated officially by the legislature in any capacity. They are still kind of the Wild West, and a hot commodity for alcohol. They've been really pushing we should take over. We are highly regulated. You can trust us
We know
mentality.
how to age gate. That's a new term I
Yes.
learned this year.
And
Yay, age gating.
secretly, we lost a lot of people, especially underage drinkers, because pot's, legal medically. So if we could recoup some of that lost revenue by taking THC beverages, that would be awesome. Hypothetically, says the alcohol, leadership, but that's the truth. So this is the brand is Senorita's brand zero proof cocktails, mocktails for those who are savvy.
Oh,
There you
Friday
go.
night mocktail.
Mango, margarita flavored, and also a jalapeno lime. Okay. If
Okay, a
you're
little
feeling bold,
sassy.
5 to 10 milligrams of hemp derived THC are being sold legally under the 2018 Farm Bill loophole, of course. With that, as we all know, has been a little out of control, but this is something that you're going to start to see in mainstream activities that you do every day. And Circle K has started it. Now, it's not cannabis, but it's not cannabis.
Wow, right?
Are
It's
they
not
going to
not
card?
cannabis.
Are they going to card us for it?
Yeah, because hemp products have to be given to somebody who's 21 and older.
I hope this works out for them. I don't really know what positive to say about this because I feel like this is going to be a nightmare.
Well, I think they'll age gate it. I mean, that was my new term last year, was age gating. I didn't recognize that term and didn't know it, but they are not wrong. Liquor stores know how to age gate.
Do they?
And
When you purchase, but to walk in there, do they check or verify?
you know what? Do people under the age of 18 walk into liquor stores?
I don't know. I always got it from
So
my parents' liquor
you
cabinet.
can't, yeah, exactly. Well, that is a whole social problem that we get to deal with that has no legislative fix.
Gas stations don't age gate because everybody walks into gas stations to buy candy after school, chips, their sodas. There's so many other items there that could be attractive to children that they don't even need to be attractive to children because all demographics and age groups go into gas stations to use the restroom, to buy food,
At one
sustenance.
point or another, right?
Yeah. And a lot of kids after school, I've noticed, and this was mostly up in Gainesville, but they would go and hang out at the gas station, or that's where their parents would pick them up because they didn't want them walking too far. It was easier than getting in the line. But Circle K is very much a gas station, a retail gas station space. And they have like, Little Caesars pizza kids. I don't know. I just feel like if I was a kid that was like a little saucy and I wanted to steal some THC beverages, I'd steal from the Circle K because they're not going to look at me funny for being in there. But don't do that. But seriously, but don't. And you
No,
put
you're not
mango
wrong.
and you know how much kids love margarita and lime jalapeno flavored drinks.
It's attractive to children. Quite frankly, the jalapeno lime is not even attractive to me, but I'm sure there
Me
are
neither.
saucy folks out there who would think that was great. I'd love to see them. I've never heard of this company before.
I do
And,
think it's interesting that this is the brand when we just talked last week about, or 2 weeks ago, about a Florida-based hemp company partnering up to supply beverages. What was
we have a number of Florida-based companies who have hemp beverages on the shelf. So this will be interesting. And OMMU has nothing to say about it.
They don't regulate
Maybe one
hemp.
of our,
FTAX
that's
does.
right. Maybe one of our fabulous investigative reporters will be able to run that down for us. I was watching the news this week and I really felt like we've done a great job of covering the news. Some of what I saw this week had to do with the slowing of the Florida growth. I think we started talking about that 3
Mhm.
weeks ago. when they gave their presentation last week and they talked about 3% year over year, that's lovely unless you're trying to do business in a state
Yeah.
and compete. And 3% growth in a state, in a business where you're trying to compete, is some pretty flippin' slim margins.
And this is competition that's been the same competition now since the inception of the program and the litigation licensure. We're not talking about the additional 22 licenses that are still pending litigation that are already approved to be licensed. So if you're having a hard time competing with 22, what's going to happen when it's 44 in a couple of months?
Right. And if that case has actually had its first week of testimony with this
That's right.
past week, it is ready to, it will go in November, will be another set of hearings, a couple days worth of hearings, and it is expected to go until February. So we won't hear a decision. And of course, these 22 operators that have been technically granted licensure,
Right.
there is nothing that they can do except keep paying the bills, keep the lights on, keep
I will
paying
tell you
for
this.
leases.
Out of the 74 applicants, okay, without giving too much away, I knew a majority of them and the names were familiar from when I started in cannabis. So
Okay.
these people that I remember hearing for the first time in like 2017 were able to sustain life all the way until 2025. A couple more months, they're not gonna worry about it because you know what they're going to do? They've got these strategic plans. They're going to think outside the box, not undercut on price, but maybe availability structure, something different, still legal. And they are going to come out swinging. The current state of cannabis will be changing dramatically. Competitive pricing, very aggressive deals for veterans and industry professionals, people that are low income. These people need to get their market share and they are not afraid to show teeth. The MMTCs need to be a little worried.
I have seen some great product come out of our system in the last couple of months. I really have.
Yeah.
Totally amazing. Some of the license holders that are out there. I won't name names, but certainly be glad to talk to folks in person. So that was one of the stories that came up. And of course, we're right smack in the middle of the gun case. So I think that's probably
Florida and guns
pistols,
federal. Yes.
Pistol
packing mama.
Petitions and peeps. That's what we promised you today.
Promise.
Yeah, so if you've been watching the show, you will recall that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, we were told that we had won. It might even have been longer.
It was longer than that.
6 weeks ago, we
Yeah,
were
it was
told
longer.
that we had won at the 11th Circuit, that the 11th Circuit agreed that there was no reason in historical law for us to disarm patients that are under a lawful medical marijuana scheme. So that was pretty groundbreaking.
It was.
We knew that we had 90 days before that particular case is certified.
Right.
During that 90-day period, from the time that the judge makes the order to the 90 days, either side can appeal. So we're not going to appeal, we won. But the Justice Department has another 30 days or so to appeal. And while we're waiting on our appeal, the Supreme Court has decided that it is going to hear a drug use and guns case. And I think you had some talking points on that for tonight, didn't you?
This wasn't just some random activity that the Supreme Court was like, we're going to just do this. This was pushed by the DOJ and President Trump. So it's very difficult to gauge where he is on cannabis with his activities. 1 week he's supporting CBD and the I know you can't say the word endocannabinoid, but like he posted the word endocannabinoid. So I'll give him credit for that. But talking about rescheduling, been months and nothing has happened. He did hire a special envoy to Iraq who used to work in cannabis. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is a sign. But then he does
Uh,
something like this and pushes the DOJ to put a hold on. So the Supreme Court hearing this U.S. versus Humani, I think it's Humani. I'm going to go with that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. People's last names are difficult. So the U.S. versus Humani case is actually affecting the Florida judgment and stalling the completion of it. So because the push from President Trump for DOJ to ask the Supreme Court for this delay, it is affecting us here with our celebration, with our win
right.
that you have
With our win. Well,
gathered for
the
us. Yes.
next step, the next step after our win was to submit a form that would require them to go back into rulemaking. So we talked about rulemaking last week. If anybody wants to see a previous episode of Elevated Intel, you can see all of our previous episodes on YouTube at FL Can Do It. The Florida Can channel.
Yeah, that sounds
Steve
really great. Yeah.
Steve can help you. Steve can help you.
Ask
He'll
Steve
he'll put a
and
link
it'll
and
be
he'll
fine.
know. He'll know.
But
So Steve,
rulemaking,
the rulemaking. So our goal was to put the federal government back into rulemaking so that they can exempt patients who are using cannabis under a lawful program.
right.
And that way I can tell the truth. Yes, I am a patient. There is no need to disarm me.
Mhm.
And we could get that form straightened up. Because of this hold, because of them taking it at the Supreme Court, we're not
Right.
going to be able to do that. So it really does
It does
delay
affect.
justice.
Oh, yeah. And the reason too is really problematic. So the ruling will decide whether you lose your Second Amendment right to arm yourself if you choose in Florida your Second Amendment right to medicate. So second and second, but not for every state. The DOJ's argument is that the government that bans drug users from misusing firearms protects their citizens. And that's a problem for me, that entire statement, because a ban on a cannabis user from owning or being able to purchase a gun is not going to keep the public safe, because most people that misuse firearms have drugs in their system. So like, are you saying that cannabis is in every system of any like gunmen that did an active shooter situation? Are you saying that we are more likely to kill because we use cannabis or do something inappropriate or misuse of firearm? Because I can tell you right now, everyone I know that uses cannabis and also protects themselves with their Second Amendment, they're the ones that are the level-headed people that are like, this is how they teach me about gun safety and how to protect yourself and use, a pistol properly. But they're implying that most of the people that, use firearms are under the influence of drugs, us included. We cannot be trusted.
Alcohol.
It didn't say alcohol, it said drugs.
I have to add alcohol because most of the time when we were out shooting a gun, there was some level of alcohol being used.
There is no historical precedent for them to say that cannabis users should not own guns. There's nothing.
That is 100% accurate. That is 100% accurate.
If I was
no
schizophrenic,
background for it.
If I was schizophrenic, should I have a gun?
So that's interesting. If you haven't been adjudicated as dangerous, probably. And I think that's what they say.
Schizophrenic with proper medication, managing medication, I'm okay to own a gun.
You would be free to own a gun until such time where a court adjudicates you as incompetent and dangerous.
Okay. So let's switch it up
stopping.
and say, if I had a different mental disorder, like multiple personalities disorder with like aggressive manic behavior from time to time when my Seahawks lose. No, I am still allowed to own a gun. If I have vocal thoughts about anti-government and my opinions against something sensitive is very vocal online, making threats, can I still buy a gun?
I don't know how until you are adjudicated.
Right. Yes, I can buy a gun and make threats.
Yes. Yes,
But if I
make
can't
a
be a
threat.
cannabis user and like get high and eat a pizza. Like it's so weird to treat me like because I'm a
100%.
cannabis patient, I shouldn't have a gun because I'm threatening bad or some problematic. Whereas the mental health or lack of support of mental health in the state of Florida and across the country allows people that suffer and don't get support to buy and utilize guns in a manner that is not, they're not all high, but they are all troubled in some capacity.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see where we go with this. It's my understanding that we're going to put together an amicus brief on this so that the voice of patients is heard. There's absolutely no reason that someone in a state like Florida shouldn't be able to exercise both their Second Amendment right and their constitutionally protected right to cannabis. That's an easy one in Florida. I think it becomes a little more challenging. Two of our plaintiffs were patients. One of our plaintiffs is a police officer who has a federal concealed carry
Yeah.
and cannot become a patient because of the federal ban. So,
It's
this is stopping him from having access to the best possible health care, and it's denying justice to
what would
Nicole and
happen
Vera.
if it gets rescheduled to a 3 and it's no longer considered a dangerous drug? Because I feel like if somebody is allowed to be a 3, which is what's in a 3? We've got uh a tranquilizer, ketamine,
I
Tylenol
don't
3.
know, yeah, Tylenol 3.
It's just some
Anything
boring
that your
stuff.
doctor, just anything that your doctor can prescribe to you, really.
Okay, so if
Um,
we go from a 1 to a 3, can I own a gun?
there's nothing prohibiting
They don't
at
take my
that
gun
point.
away if they were to prescribe me with a Tylenol 3 for pain after surgery.
So they might still have to change the form. I'd have to look at exactly how the form, but it does say illegal drugs.
And it
So at that
asks
point,
you
it's
if
not
you're
an illegal drug.
addicted. If you buy it or want to get
And
your background screen to purchase a firearm, it does ask, are you addicted to any illegal drugs, including marijuana in markets where it is legal or not, whatever. So addiction, how do you find out if you're addicted to something?
well, I think you'd have to be adjudicated again. And
Adjudication.
that's why so many marijuana users just say no
I'm not
to that
addicted.
form.
I
And that's
love it.
exactly what they say. However, if you ever have cause to use it, that's when we're going to have problems
But you only have to
because
use a firearm to protect yourself if somebody is,
it will
well,
still
okay,
be illegal.
in the event that you have to use it, take the punishment of having to use it because you obviously had to protect your own life. If you have a concealed weapon and they find out that you're a cannabis user and you also had to use that weapon to protect yourself, well, it was either that or death. So take whatever punishment they dole out. I bet someone will take your case and you'll be fine.
Let's change the law, shall we?
If we could, that would be so great.
Let's
So
do that. I'd
besides,
rather do that.
I know, right? So besides the DOJ delaying our wonderful like milestone for guns and patients' ability to utilize or own them
Right?
on a federal level, what else do you have? I have Florida.
Not good.
I've got a interesting
Good.
story. I don't know why I have so many papers. There we go. I have. I'm like, why? I've got like 4
My
different.
gorgeous anchor. With
I
your
have
papers.
a story about Massachusetts. Oh, poor the
What are they doing now? Oh, wow.
Massachusetts is fine. Massachusetts cannabis regulators are having a little bit of a problem. So, New York, or sorry, Massachusetts is fine. New York is the issue. I thought it was Massachusetts. Okay. So in
No,
New York,
Massachusetts isn't, they're the ones that they're trying to put
Massachusetts is a hot mess, let's be
a
honest.
hot mess
Uh,
legislation together to
but we're gonna let them
revoke their
slide this
program.
week, and we're gonna just
Okay.
focus on New York.
New York,
Now,
back to New
Massachusetts
York.
has the CCC, that's their regulating body. New York has the OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management. I have to work with both of those agencies, so I'm going to try and be as polite as possible. But
All right.
there was a
Sounds like
very
it.
big cannabis
Wise.
recall in the state of New York recently. Very big. We're talking $30 million worth of products big.
So that's
chaos.
big.
Yes.
What was the recall for? Do you know?
They were illegally sold products that were manufactured but sold on the front of legal medicine. So through a retailer that had an established license, they were illegal products sold through a legal retailer. So they were sold through Omnium Health. It's a Long Island manufacturer accused of renting its licenses to out-of-state brands. Like, I don't want to say these, but they're bigger brands. The regulators say that Omnium put those companies, let those companies make and sell their products out of their retail establishment without the authorization. But even after they announced this recall, they have done nothing to implement and act on this recall. So they gave out the bad news to the citizens and the patients because it is adult use up there, but then radio silence after that.
So I'm really not surprised.
It destroys public trust in the industry's trust in the program if you say there's something dangerous out there and then they don't tell you where it is or what it is.
Do you follow recalls much?
I do.
So somehow they end up in my feed. So apparently I do too. It's all the time I see such and such has been recalled, may have didn't have a known allergen of nuts. I'm still gonna eat it.
Okay, what? So there was a recall of something that had
and the recall, yeah, and no, it just didn't say that it didn't have the label on it that said it may have been made in a factory with nuts.
So if you had a peanut allergy, you could have been.
It'd be really serious. If you don't have or it could be because just because it was made in a factory doesn't mean, but it could be. And they'll say, brands that were delivered from this time to this time, 3 months ago. Because you really saved that chocolate bar.
Oh.
And that's the way I feel about the weed. I mean, seriously, a recall. Some recalls I think are very serious. Recall for molds, recall for contaminants. But what does a recall look like in Florida?
Well, we've only done one, but I'm not going to talk about it. But if you want to know, you can look it up. And it was done way after it should have been done. But I digress. So the issue that I want to focus on with this specific problem is very similar to what we talked about with Florida last week. So the reason that the regulators up in New York cannot fully implement a recall is because their lack of seed to sale tracking. So we did talk last week about the new director of the OMMU responsible for someone inheriting someone else's data and having to present it to the lawmakers out in Tallahassee at the House Public Programs Committee. And essentially she had to answer for questions that really had nothing to do with her. It was before she took over, but she did great. She did really, really great. Bobby Smith, right? So what we did notice in her data was a low potency product significant drop from 1 year over the next. And it was directly correlated to the implementation of a seed to sale tracking where second set of eyes are verifying your data. And so it's not a self-reporting system. Here, because they do not have a way of independently verifying product integrity, the lack of or how to recall very efficiently which products are tainted through a seed to sale tracking software, which would go soil to oil, seed to sale, whatever you want to say, the full traceability of a product's life cycle in the retail environment. That should be the easiest thing to implement is seed to sale, because if somebody messes up like this, you know exactly where to go and pluck it out of the retail environment and eliminate it from a patient health safety risk or public safety risk. But that is like the biggest issue right now, is that they can't effectively eliminate the products off of the shelf because they don't have that implemented. And it's an independent third-party verification of what they say and what you require is actually being carried out in implementation for public safety, that is, to me, there's no excuse not to have that implemented when a program is officially started. We didn't do it. We waited how many years?
Years, and Georgia's nowhere close. They have not allocated the money. They
Well,
just haven't allocated the money for it.
we didn't either, but we also needed, so, I mean, couple of trips out to Tallahassee in 2018, and then we
Right.
made it happen. But if you don't have a facility that is state run to verify product safety and
Right.
vet the vetters, so like laboratories vet the products for, you know, contamination, accuracy of potency, how do you vet me? Well, you have to have a laboratory that is run by the state, and they can go and take my results and the results of something pulled off the shelf and cross-reference and then argue with me about who's smarter and whatever. The state has in Florida, that lab, she spoke about it last week. It's just not officially going yet, so it will. And we have a seed to
Wow.
sale, but if
I didn't
New York
realize.
doesn't have either one of those and they say that there's a problem and a recall is necessary, yeah, they don't know where to start. They don't know their ass from the head in the ground kind of thing. Whatever that saying is about your ass not knowing, that's what I'd like to say right
That's
now.
what-
But
that one.
that's really embarrassing kind of stuff.
Well, it's fascinating. I'm an old head, and so the idea of track and trace is just kind of uh lost on me when it comes to cannabis, right? Because, I bought it from the guy on the skateboard. We've had that
Derek,
conversation
yeah,
about Derek, the guy on the
yep, with his
skateboard, with the
JanSport
backpack.
backpack and yeah,
Yeah.
he greasy
So,
hair, headphones.
and so tracking back, I just don't know that we would have ever dreamed to track back. And it wasn't like that we were going to call, the health department if it was bad. And we probably got the gummies from somebody who'd had them in their purse for 3 weeks. So, if so all of that, but I do recognize that if we really do want to protect the integrity of the plant, if it's a plant that has worked for us, then we want to make sure that people who are coming into the program, citizens, children, aging adults, people with complex medical conditions, that the products that they get are just beyond being questioned. And so I really appreciate that you have a mind for that, Cynthia. I really appreciate that.
I just think
Again,
it's
it's kind of foreign to
funny
me.
that you have a market that has just gone adult use, right? You are in New York. This is a great opportunity. You are now adult use. You've got huge tourism and a program that is incredibly successful. And you don't have a seed to sale. And now you have these products still on the shelf where people are buying them and they're not really sure if they're safe or not. This is a spider web of product integrity questions, because if you haven't done anything and you've already sounded the alarm, then you're now responsible for the next steps. And so it will fall on them, although the perpetrator was someone else.
So, but okay, so I'm operating using my protocols because I'm an out-of-state operator. This is what you said. It's an out-of-state operator. I've brought in my SOPs. I am licensed in other states. This sounds to me more like a paperwork problem because we've been using P's. Paperwork problem.
I love the
To go with
alliteration.
my
Okay.
peeps, to go with my peeps and my pistols and my petitions. I just think that this is, yeah,
So
just a paperwork problem,
this is
not
a
a product
paperwork problem.
problem.
Yeah. So this is not a public safety issue in our eyes either, because
This
this is
case.
other big companies, like you said, yes, very well established companies. I didn't name all of them, but you can look it up. Big companies in other markets that are making products in this market, but they didn't go through the approval process. So it would be like an MSO partners up with a group that's not yet here or represented in Florida, and they're making the products in the MMTC's environment and selling them on the shelf, but they weren't cleared on the paperwork. They didn't ask for a variance in time. So yes, this is not so much there is tainted product with pesticides on the shelf everybody who is going to
Oh,
use it is going to be affected by it. No, this is not that type of issue. But if you say recall, people think the worst. It's not like there
yeah,
should be different variations of recall. It should be paperwork punishment, peas all day, and then product integrity, and then just blatant disregard for public safety, like where somebody puts something they know to be tainted out on the market because they don't want to dispose of it. That has happened across the board and people have never got caught. If it was something that the product had degraded over time, which is it happens, microbiological contaminant can show up even after they pass a test with us, and that's because the plant is a plant and it is what it is. It's not
right.
horrible, but it could be for someone who's got deficient, ailments. The last thing is if it's a paperwork issue, give them a fine. Don't
Right.
scream the word recall
Recall.
and say $30 million worth of products are affected and then not pull a single one. Just fine them.
Right. 100%. Well, you have been right so far, and you told me you've got a fact.
I do. I have a fact that's going to be interesting because it's close to Halloween. What are you going to be for Halloween?
You know what? I have not decided.
I'm going
I
as
don't know that
Jody
I'm going.
James.
Best of luck to that
I'm
one.
gonna get my nails done. I'm gonna go get a perm. I need to buy more rings, but no. So I wanted to do a fun fact that was light about cannabis, maybe something you didn't quite know. But did you know cannabis plants can be zombies?
Tell me more,
Dun
Cynthia.
dun dun. So I know, right? Like I really had to search for this one too. Thanks, Chat GPT. You're the best girl. So cannabis plants are cannabis is a phytoperiod plant. So that means that the life stages depend on light cycles and not the actual age of the plant. So because of this, when you harvest cannabis plants, it is possible for you to leave very nutrient rich roots in the earth and they can revegetate, which is almost like
Oh,
a zombie-esque. So the
ah,
roots that are left over can sprout
okay.
new like from the nodes that are down there that can sprout out, what do they call them?
New stems and stalks.
No, shoots. That's what I said. Oh, so
Okay.
if placed in specific and certain light conditions, new shoots can come out of older nodes, okay, and they can revegetate and thus make a plant to return it to full vegetative growth and
That's pretty
flowering.
amazing.
So
That is pretty amazing.
that is pretty cool. I don't think zombie is a bad term in this, but the
Okay.
fact that it's still gonna
It's
try,
Halloween.
it's just gonna keep living even if you don't want it to live anymore. I
Yeah.
thought that was our Halloween edition of our fun cannabis
Yeah.
fact. And not as scary, but yeah, just be careful if you're growing weed and you think you got rid of it. It could come back and give you 5 to 10, you know.
I was being all cagey one year, a million years ago, and we had this fire pit, and I kept throwing all of my cannabis seeds into the fire pit. They really like that ashy soil. A couple weeks later, I come back and I have a whole bunch of plants like this big. It was fabulous.
I would be hoarding seeds.
So,
And why do you have weed with so much seeds in them?
it was a while ago. It was a
Okay,
while ago.
a different
Flashback
time.
flashback to when your seed would regenerate, when your pot would regenerate itself. That's it.
So in the fire pit grew a
All
plant.
kinds of beautiful, several
It's like a
little plants.
phoenix.
They like it. That's right. Well, and we really have got to help more people get access to this plant. So we thank everybody who stuck with us this long today. It's great to
Yep.
see you on a Friday afternoon, Cynthia.
Always
Next week,
great.
we will be back in Tallahassee on Tuesday and Wednesday with ambassadors from the Florida Cannabis Action Network's leadership team, talking to the Office of Medical Marijuana Use.
Right.
Lawmakers are home this week and next week, so be out and about and be looking for lawmakers. Find places where they will be. If you're out and about, make sure you know what your 30-second pitch would be, because got to know what you're going to say to them if you only have a minute. Anything else you'd like us to think about before we wrap up, Cynthia?
Nope. Anybody in Florida who cares, there is an OMMU hearing that Jody and the group of advocates will be attending on Tuesday and Wednesday, where they will finalize the cannabis emergency rules that have been our gospel for the past 7 years now.
Learn more about that at the Office of Medical Marijuana's uses website. Know the facts under what, regulatory?
Yeah, we
And
could probably put a link on the website to make it easier for people, but comparatively speaking, there's not a huge amount of changes. But under the ommu.com website, you go under maybe it's .gov. Anyways, go under regulatory information. There's a public notices section that drops down. It will show you the agenda for day 1, day 2, where they cover and break down 2 different sections of the finalized rule. There are some changes. You'll have to look to Florida Cannabis Action Network to see our cheat sheet before the meeting. If you don't know, you won't know. So you should know. So go to our site, obviously, to get in the know and become a member of Florida Cannabis Action Network. They will, after this, make this official, and it changes a little bit of how they implement any changes to the rule, especially changes where it comes to you as a patient.
right.
Yes. So
That's what we're going to be talking about.
Oh, yeah.
All right. He who knows the rules wins. Good night, Cynthia. Thanks again to Steve from Jacksonville for
Thanks,
doing
Steve.
our production. Thanks, Steve.
You're the best, Steve.